Today we are going to review a challenge and talk about the best way to go through it and read it to understand it. The challenge we're going to cover is Unlikely Attraction, which is the scientific challenge because it has a fairly standard format that's common across challenges. So we have a cover page with a logo for each one of the challenges, and we're going to page down to the second page, which has a table of contents, which tells you all of the main sections of the challenge. And then the next little section is how to approach the challenge, either in a low-level, simple solution, or it can get as complicated as you like. Then solving the challenge, the materials you need to look at to solve the challenge. And then the team budget is next. Team budget is very important. You have that in every challenge except the improv challenge treasure. It tells you that what the total is that you can spend on your challenge solution. And it's important that you know that because we don't want the kids buying their challenge solution, so it's fairly low. And then the time limit for their performance at the tournament, most of them are 8 minutes. There are a couple of exceptions to that. Then tournament data forms are at the end of every challenge, and you have to bring those to the tournament. They'll have more information about that at the end of the challenge. If you see this check mark any place in the challenge, and they'll be scattered around, that just means that that's something that the kids will have to explain to the appraisers at the tournament. So the first section, when we get to explaining the actual challenge and what's required, the first section is the central challenge section. So the team challenge consists of two sections, the central challenge and team choice elements. Before we start talking about this, we're going to page down to the score sheet. The score sheet, the scoring section is after the explanation of the challenge, and it tells you how much score each element gets. This is important to look at as you read the challenge because it will tell you how important each element is for your score, and that should give you an idea of what kind of challenge it is and how important each element is and how much time should be spent on it. So we'll go on back up to the central challenge section, and this section is going to be a little bit different for every challenge because it's broken down by major element. So the first major element is the story, and we have one check mark here. The story must show the impact of the attraction, including its operation on the unlikely location. So the attraction, remember the attraction had the most points. It has 2 check marks, so they'll have to explain these things to the appraisers at the tournament. There is a technical element required, and they have to pick the technical scientific concept from this chart. Then anytime there is a technical element in a challenge, you'll have a technical innovation and technical design of the attraction. You'll have something like this in all of those challenges that explains what they mean by technical innovation and technical design. Then there's an explanation of the unlikely location, and there will be some rules about that. But again, there are 2 things that they will have to explain at the tournament. And notice it has this line here: if your team chooses a location that is not a valid unlikely location, your team will earn 0 points for these sections. So let's continue to page down. This section talks about the team choice elements. This section is the same in every challenge except the improv challenge, which doesn't have team choice elements. So it's exactly the same. There are rules for the team choice elements, and this is one that they will have to explain at the tournament. Then the next section is called At the Tournament, and this will explain a number of different things about what they need to know about being at the tournament. One is the presentation area, how big it has to be, whether or not it has to be taped off, that sort of thing. Just so you know, this is a minimum. This is a minimum area. In most cases, they'll have more space than that, but we have to provide at least that much space. So it tells you something about forms, identification sign. They have to have an identification sign. It's an unscored item. Please don't get hung up on what it looks like. And then instant challenge. All of the teams have to do instant challenge. Then scoring is the next section, and we talked about that a little bit. But again, the unlikely attraction. The attraction is worth 105 points, which is more than any of the other elements. So that is very important for them to spend quite a bit of time on that. Then at the end of each scoring sheet, you'll see these pie charts that show you the percentage breakdown of each element. The central challenge. These are the main elements, and you can see that the attraction is worth 45% and the other two are worth substantially less. Then putting it all together, the central challenge, team choice elements, and instant challenge. This doesn't mean that team choice elements aren't important, because they are. You have to pay attention to everything. The tournament data forms are required to turn in at the tournament. They tell the appraisers what to look for each element. Brevity is very important, because the appraisers will have to read this, and they only have a limited amount of time to read it. But the kids will get the opportunity to explain how they came up with their ideas and how they executed at the tournament. The third page of the tournament data form, this is fairly standard in all of the challenges. These are the different stages of the creative process, and it asks what the team did in those phases. You might want to take notes as you go with your meetings, so you'll have something to fill in. We only require one copy of that. We require 5 copies of all of the others, and then you'll have 1 or 2 notes pages. And that is the scientific challenge. We're going to flip over now to the engineering challenge, because I want to show you an additional section that you have in the engineering challenge and the improv challenge. You'll have a section after the score sheet called tournament procedures, because there are special procedures at the tournament for both of those challenges, and it's important that the team understands them. Last year we had one challenge that had tournament procedures, and some of the teams never looked at it. This one is fairly lengthy. The tournament procedures for improv are not nearly this lengthy, so it's important to read them and understand them. And if you do this challenge, you'll see a structure tester that you have to have for it. We do have some of those in the regional office to lend out. And then these are the tournament data forms for the engineering challenge. And that's it. We will have more detail on each challenge at our Solving the Challenge training in November.